The Constellation Vanguard drifted through the outer Kethrin Nebula on a routine patrol mission. Commander Vash of the Lyorii species stood at the entrance of the lower cargo bay, his four amber eyes narrowing at the floor. Dust patterns had been disturbed. Tiny claw marks, no larger than a standard credit chip, trailed across the metallic surface in erratic lines. Impossible, Vash muttered under his breath. His squad of 6 Lyorii officers gathered behind him, their scaled tails twitching with unease. The Lyorii were known throughout the Galactic Coalition for their tracking abilities. Their ancestors had been apex predators on their jungle homeworld, and that instinct still pulsed through every nerve fiber. "Sir, those prints," Lieutenant Dryn whispered, crouching low. "They belong to younglings." "Our younglings." Vash's chest tightened. 3 rotations ago, a refugee transport had docked briefly with the Vanguard for emergency fuel transfer. Among those refugees were 12 Lyorii cubs, orphans from the border wars. The transport had departed, but now Vash stared at evidence that suggested otherwise. "Follow them," he ordered. The patrol moved in silence, tracking the tiny prints through maintenance corridors, ventilation shafts, and access tunnels no adult Lyorii could fit through. The trail wound deeper into the ship, towards sections even Vash rarely visited. Then the prints stopped at a door, the bridge auxiliary module. Human territory. Vash felt his scales bristle. The Vanguard operated under Joint Coalition Command, which meant a single human officer served aboard, a tradition most Lyorii found unnecessary. Humans were strange creatures, soft-skinned, short-lived, emotionally volatile. They laughed at danger, wept at stories, and formed attachments to anything with a heartbeat. The human assigned to Vanguard was named Kalen. Vash had exchanged perhaps 20 words with him in 6 lunar cycles. The human kept to himself, performed his duties adequately, and spent his off hours in this auxiliary module doing whatever humans did in solitude. Now, apparently, he was harboring Lyorii cubs. Vash keyed the door override. It slid open with a hiss. The auxiliary module was dim, illuminated only by the soft blue glow of a holographic star map rotating near the viewport. Equipment lined the walls, scanning arrays, communication relays, and in the far corner, a standard Coalition helmet rack. Vash froze. The helmet rack had been transformed. Someone had draped thermal blankets between the helmet slots, creating a nest-like enclosure. Soft padding, clearly repurposed from human bedding, cushioned the interior. A small heating unit hummed nearby, calibrated to exactly 32.7 degrees. The optimal temperature for Lyorii cubs. And inside that makeshift den, 5 small bodies lay curled together, their tiny chests rising and falling in peaceful rhythm. The cubs were sleeping. By the first hunt, Dryn breathed. Vash stepped closer, his tactical training forgotten. These were not just any cubs. He recognized the markings. The 3 with silver streaks belonged to the Kathos clan, wiped out in the siege of Varron. The 2 with amber patches were from the Orin bloodline, believed entirely extinct. Orphans, the last of their kind, and they were here, safe, warm, sleeping in a human's helmet rack. A sound came from behind them. Vash spun, claws extending instinctively. Kalen stood in the doorway, holding a tray of nutrient pouches. The human's eyes widened at the sight of 6 armed Lyorii officers surrounding his nest. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Kalen sighed. "I can explain." "Explain." Vash's voice came out harsher than intended. "You are harboring stowaways. Coalition law requires." "I know what Coalition law requires," Kalen interrupted quietly. He set the tray down and moved past the officers with a casualness that bordered on reckless. He knelt beside the helmet rack, checking the heating unit's temperature gauge. "It requires me to report unauthorized passengers within 1 standard hour of discovery. I discovered them 72 hours ago." "Then you have violated protocol." "Yes." Vash waited for justification, for excuses, for the elaborate rationalizations humans were famous for. Instead, Kalen simply adjusted one of the blankets where a cub's tail had slipped out. "They were hiding in the ventilation system near the engine core," the human said softly. "The heat signature masked them during the transport's departure scan. By the time I found them, the transport was 3 systems away." He paused. "They were terrified, starving." The smallest one wouldn't stop shaking. Dryn made a sound low in his throat. a Liorii expression of distress. I contacted Coalition Command, Kalen continued. Filed a report. Requested immediate extraction. His jaw tightened. They said the next available refugee vessel wouldn't reach us for 19 rotations. Told me to maintain containment until then. And the helmet rack? Vash asked. Though the anger had faded from his voice, Kalen looked up at him. In the dim blue light, the human's eyes held something Vash had never seen before. Not fear, not defiance, gentleness. Liorii cubs sleep in communal dens, Kalen said. I read that in the xenobiology database. They need warmth, enclosed spaces, and proximity to other heartbeats. The cargo hold was too cold, too open. So I improvised. He gestured at the nest. The heating unit is from my personal quarters. The blankets, too. The nutrient pouches are formulated for juvenile Liorii digestive systems. I had the medical bay synthesize them. Vash stared at this strange, soft creature who had given up his own comfort for 5 orphaned children of a species not his own. Humans lived barely a century. They had no scales, no claws, no natural weapons. By every metric the galaxy used to measure strength, they were unremarkable. And yet, the smallest one, Kalen added, almost to himself. She has nightmares. Wakes up crying in the early hours. I've been sitting with her until she falls back asleep. Something cracked inside Vash's chest. A wall he hadn't known existed. You could have been court-martialed, he said. Probably. Your career would be over. Probably. Then what? Kalen smiled. A small, tired, impossibly human expression. Because they needed someone. And I was here. The cubs stirred. The smallest one, the one with silver streaks and a crooked tail, opened her eyes and saw the Liorii officers. She should have been terrified. Instead, she yawned, stretched, and crawled toward the edge of the nest. Kalen, she mumbled sleepily. Hungry. The human's entire face softened. He reached for a nutrient pouch, opened it, and handed it to her with practiced ease. She accepted it, took 3 sips, then crawled into his lap and fell back asleep. Vash watched this impossible scene. A human, cradling a Liorii cub like she was his own. A predator's child, trusting a creature with no fangs. Commander, Dryn whispered. What do we do? Vash was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened, his 4 eyes meeting Kalen's too. We do nothing, he said. The patrol found no stowaways. The prince led nowhere. This room contains only standard equipment and 1 human officer performing his duties. Kalen blinked. Sir, 19 rotations, Vash said firmly. You will continue maintaining containment until the refugee vessel arrives. I will personally ensure medical supplies and additional rations are diverted to this module. He paused. Unofficially, the human's throat moved. Thank you. Vash turned to leave, then stopped at the door. He looked back at the helmet rack, at the 5 small lives breathing peacefully in their improvised den. My people have a saying, he said quietly. The measure of a warrior is not how fiercely he fights, but how gently he protects. He met Kalen's eyes. You are a strange species, human, but perhaps not as weak as we believed. The door slid shut behind the patrol. In the dim blue glow, Kalen held the sleeping cub closer and smiled. 19 rotations that he could manage that,